Hey y'all, I'm Sir Pinkbeard. Let's talk about why I will never go back to the office as a senior software engineer. Now, if you were a computer science student 2 years ago and not working in the industry, then you probably don't know that about 2 years ago, when COVID all started, everybody pretty much got sent to work from home. And if you were in a larger company, you were probably working from home for like all of 2020 and most of 2021. And towards the end of 2021, CEOs started saying, hey, come back to the office, which is kind of terrible of them. And I think I have a reason for that I'll get into at the end of the video for why they want people to come back into the office. There's a few, but let's take a look at like why we shouldn't go into the office, and then I'll tell you why I will never go back into the office. All right, so the reasons why we shouldn't go into the office are pretty evident. As a remote worker, you don't have to commute, which means for most people, that's an hour of your life going to work and coming back from work that you don't have to do. For me, it was 30 minutes each way, but that's still 30 minutes each way that I don't have to commute, which gives me back 30 minutes of my life. You don't have to go into the office and pretend to care about the people that you work with. Sure, your coworkers may be fun, they may be interesting, they may lead interesting lives, but at the end of the day, they're just acquaintances. And a work family is kind of a terrible thing. And if you've been in the industry or any industry for a while, you should know that when someone's like, hey, we treat our workers like family here, that just means they're going to abuse you. So if you're in an environment where you have to kind of care about people, or if you're in a cubicle farm and you're just writing some code, there's really no reason to go into the office to interact with your company or with your coworkers. And obviously, if you do need to interact, we have perfectly acceptable technologies. We have Teams or Zoom to do phone calls and meetings. We have Slack, or again, Teams is what my company uses to quick message people. You can always just hop on a call if you need to hop on a call and communicate, but there is zero reason for being face-to-face 90% of the time, especially in software where we can just do everything remotely and can automate the entire process of deployment. So if anything goes wrong, we can just real quick from anywhere in the world fix it. Now that said, there are some reasons that someone might want to work in the office, and that's fine if you want to, right? Let's say you don't have the space to have an office at home, like you don't have one extra room in your house to convert to a working from home office. That's totally fine, totally get that. But if you want to go back into the office, that should be your right. Now, here's the thing. There are good reasons for going into the office. I will never set my foot back into an office full-time ever. In fact, I probably won't even do a hybrid schedule where I have to be in the office more than one day a week. It's just not going to happen because I love my wife. See, when COVID started, my wife and I basically locked down. We were in Minnesota at the time, which treated COVID very, very seriously. And we treated it very, very seriously because what we were seeing from doctors and at social media at the time is like it was super deadly. And both of us being overweight, that was probably something we should kind of avoid because it was hitting overweight people harder. So like we locked down, didn't go anywhere for a month. We stayed in the apartment. We like bought all of our food, cooked all of our food, stayed in for a month, didn't do anything. And as COVID continued on, the stress of it, my wife was working retail at the time and I was making enough to cover all of our expenses. So she quit and she started becoming a stay-at-home wife and like doing school and not going to work. And during COVID, that made perfect sense for us. And it was stressful at first. Like, don't get me wrong. It was pretty stressful to just go from 2 incomes down to 1 income, but we made it work. And the longer we made it work, the more I kind of realized that's how life was supposed to be. See, we all started going into the office in the Industrial Revolution and started going and working 10, 12-hour days because we needed to make money and we were being exploited, and there were a whole bunch of history of workers stuff that I'm not going to get into. But basically, humans aren't meant to go into the office 40 hours a week. We're not meant to do that. We don't even like doing it, if we're honest with ourselves. And if you do, that's okay, but for the majority of us, we don't even like it. But I had never thought that it would be possible to not have to go into an office every week. When I started straight out of college, I was like used to the school mentality. I became a teacher, went to school 40 hours a week, worked there, and then came home and saw my wife. And that was really miserable because in the first year of our marriage, we had opposite schedules. I was a teacher working mornings to the early afternoon, and she was retail, which meant her schedule was all over the place. And often she was going to work when I was coming home, which made it really, really stressful for us to just connect and even be a married couple. And because we didn't live together before we got married, that put a lot of strain on our first year of marriage. So anyway, bringing that forward to COVID, we kind of got a break. She quit working. I was working from home, spending the days in our den that we had converted kind of to an office for both of us. And it was stressful, but we got to spend more time with each other, and we both started realizing that spending time with each other was worth it. It felt right. It felt like, hey, I love my wife. I picked my wife because I love my wife. And now that I get to work remotely, I get to spend every day with her. And sure, there were times when I was in meetings and I had to do work and all of that, but just being able to go, hey, what are you thinking right now? Or what are you up to? Or checking in, or just being able to stop and just walk over to my kitchen and make lunch with her. Those were things that I started to really treasure. And now I've been remote for 2.5 years now. Basically, since COVID started, I was remote. There was a small time frame when I was still in Minnesota that I went into the office 3 days a week. And then right as they were starting to try to force everyone to come back 5 days a week, I left Minnesota and my job gave me full-time remote because they didn't want to lose me. But anyway, I've been remote for 2.5 years now, and that has led me to spend basically every day with my wife. And I love it. See, I love my wife, and I have loved every minute of the last 2 years, regardless of how stressful it was with COVID, regardless of how money was tight when you quit working. I loved every second of it. And looking back, I wouldn't want to change it. And COVID was a beautiful event in this one instance. There's a lot of other things about COVID that's made it terrible. But in this one instance, COVID was a beautiful event because it allowed me to see that I don't have to go and fake it with coworkers 40 hours a week. I don't have to go into an office when I could totally do my job from home and then be forced to dress up or play office politics or ride in elevators to things and just be oppressed and felt like I was being oppressed in a corporate culture. I don't have to do that because I'm a software engineer and I can work remotely. And my wife is home and I'm home. And if you got married because you liked spending time with the person that you wanted to spend time with, remote work allows you to do that. So if you're considering a career change and you want a career change, you can check a link down in the description for the boot camp that I went through. They are really good. I know there's a lot of negativity around them, but they are a really good boot camp. So if you're considering hey, you know what, spending time with the person that I chose to marry and love and with my family sounds great, that boot camp will help you get on the path to do that. Anyway, there's a link for that down in the description. That's why I'm never going back. I'm never going to give up the time that I get with my wife. Even though I may lock myself in the office all day long so that I can get work done and I can focus and do all of those things, she's still out there. And she can still come in and talk to me if she has a question, or I can still go out there and check in with her, or we can just stop and give each other a hug or a kiss in the day. That's amazing. If you don't get that benefit, I'm sorry for you. If you really want that, then like I said, check out that bootcamp link in the description. It gives me a small kickback after you finish the entire bootcamp. But if you want something like that, I would highly recommend you pursue it because it is amazing. Now this kind of leads me to what I said earlier, which is the reason I think CEOs want us all back in the office is they don't like their families. They don't like their families. They don't want to spend time with their wives. They want to get away. And they've been doing it for ages, and so they want to have that control over people like they had people in control over them. That's just what they want. And I guess that's okay, but that's kind of a miserable life that you would care about money more than your own family. So if you're a CEO and you happen to watch this video and you're offering them the opportunity to come back into the office if they want to, you understand. And I thank you. Because at the end of the day, I would so much rather spend, and so many people would so much rather spend the time with the people that they care to and do the work that they're perfectly capable of doing remote than have to go into the office and be on a team where you don't give a shit about the people you work with. And I mean that in the most respectful way. Sure, we care that you're buying a new house or that you just wrote a book or that you love to snowboard. Those things are awesome, and I'm glad you can do those things. And it, the chatter keeps the day going a little faster. But at the end of the day, we're just acquaintances and we don't care. And I think my generation, at least, is tired of pretending that we care. So, all of that said, my love, happy Valentine's Day. I'll see you soon. And for the rest of you, if you want what I've got and never want to set foot back in the office, consider a career change. Thanks for watching. I'm Sir Pinkbeard, and if you want more information about the bootcamp that I went through, you can click on one of the videos right here, or check the link in the description to take you to the company's website and apply. And if you enjoy going to the office and you disagree with my position, let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.